Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. Very happy New Year. It's New Year's Eve, and with respect to that, we'll be talking generally about what the lessons learned in all of last year, as far as politics is concerned, as far as the challenges that we've seen arise politically on the economic front. We've also, of course, seen one of the major challenges come up as far as climate change is concerned, the effect of that. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about, of course, as far as politics is concerned, the polarization we've seen, the kind of abuse that we've seen, what lessons are there to be learned, and what kind of a way forward do we see for the next year, which will also be which is likely to be the electioneering, the year of election as far as 2023 is concerned. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Agha Iqrar Haroon, who's a political analyst. Thank you for joining us today. We also have with us Dr. Hakan Najib, who is an economist. Thank you for being with us. And Sadiqul Farooq Sahab, who is with the PMLN. Thank you for being with us. Ji. Let me start off with you, Agha Sahab. Overall, we've seen, as far as politics is concerned, it hasn't been easy year, to say the least. Politically speaking, it's been very challenging. We've seen, unfortunately, a lot of polarization happen. We've seen a lot of abuse happen. It's also, and I would like to say it has ceased, but it's still continuing every day. It's increasing overall. How do you see things, in what direction do you see things moving forward in that respect?
Honestly speaking, politically, people say this, last year, this year was full of jolts and upheavals. But I get a positive aspect of that.
Okay.
We had gone through the most important phase of history of Pakistan because at least after 75 years, many people accepted with their own tongues and their own mouths that they had been playing with the politics of Pakistan.
Okay.
And they said, they want to in future. This is a very big development for Pakistan.
You're saying that necessarily, things may not be as bleak as one season in one go, and they might be moving in the right direction.
Yes, I'm telling you, I'm very pragmatic that this phase is very important and was very important for politically. If you talk about political relation of state with public.
Okay.
And I'm pragmatic. This will bring fruits in time, at least a decade to come. It will take time if everything would be as same as it has been promised.
Okay, you're saying things get worse before they get better. That's what I feel.
Yes.
Okay, let me come back to you. I'm going to go to Sadiqul Farooq Sahab and then Dr. Hakan Ji. Sadiqul Farooq Sahab, overall, as far as, what's your opinion? You, of course, you have your own experience with politics. And overall, how do you look at things? Are they headed in the right direction? Are we moving towards a kind of, things getting better as far as politics generally is concerned, things stabilizing overall? How do you look at things?
In my opinion, problems we face these days is the result of not observing constitution and law throughout the 75-year history of Pakistan, by everyone, almost everyone. These problems are the result of non-observance of constitution and law. There are in between patches, few years that economy has improved, other things improved, but with the passage of time, when the economy took off, it was fired at and it came down. So now for the coming year, for the new, from 2023, I think the challenge is to improve economy and observance of constitution without exception, rule of law. If we follow only these two principles, these two things,
Hmm.
we made growth
Siddiqul Farooq sir,
and
let me come back to you. You're right. You know, when you talk about, you're saying that things will change and rule of law, you're talking about all of those things. I want to move a little bit towards economy also. That's a huge challenge at this point. I don't think anybody can deny that. Let me go to Dr. Khakan and I'll come back to you. Ji, Dr. Khakan, as far as economy is concerned, certainly, you know, it has been a cause of concern for us, and things are, you know, we want, of course, the kind of stability Pakistan wants to achieve is not, unfortunately, here today. Of course, there are efforts underway. There is a lot that is being done to achieve that kind of scenario. But you know, what is your overall assessment of how things are going to pan out as far as the next year is concerned? It will also be likely the year of the general election, and of course things are going to be, every political party is going to be looking at things in that kind of you know, background.
Mahrukh, thank you for having me, and good of you to do a program on the perspective of 2022 and 2023. So 2022, if we globally see in terms of economics, for people, I think one word was enough, and that was globally everyone saw inflation. Everyone saw their prices go up. Everyone saw the Ukraine war, the conflict there, and the COVID fallout in terms of the reopening of the world, and the push that central banks made, the governments made. You know, saw inflation hit people. 2022 was largely defined by this word as far as people were concerned. Pakistan was no different. Pakistan, at the same time, had a challenging situation with the floods, had a challenging situation with the uncertainty on the political side, had a challenging situation on the balance of payments, which also started with the commodity super cycle, the price hikes, and then translated onto the way things have come across. So I think that in the shortest possible way, this is how we would explain. Now, 2023, unfortunately, is going to be difficult in the first half, I think. The first 6 months will remain difficult because many global economies and the Pakistan economy will feel like a recession. When I say they will feel like a recession, that means there will be contraction in terms of economic expansion. You will see that the state banks across the world will keep the interest rate rising. You've seen that in Pakistan also. You will also see that demand will be subdued, so our exports will be subdued. You will see that remittances will be slow because the global economy will also not have that kind of job opportunities, savings will be less. So this is the specter that the first 6 months seem to be pointing. For Pakistan, the more important part would be whether we are able to continue with the IMF, though the government has been quite clear on it that we will, but I still want to see the steps. One has to be honest with, you know, nearly $5.8 billion in the kitty, and that too borrowed reserves from friendly countries, deposits. Pakistan is in a very difficult situation. The
Dr.
markets have.
Khakan, overall, in terms of, let me come back to you. I'll go to Siddiqul Farooq Sahab. Ji, Siddiqul Farooq Sahab, as far as economy is concerned, of course, we've seen that, you know, both as far as political and economic stability are concerned, they're inextricably linked. One can't separate one from the other, and you know, the government and of course PMLN also particularly has tried to move towards trying to achieve it, but unfortunately that's not happening. We have an opposition that you know, has traditionally, we've seen over time, believed in a politics of agitation. Do you think that's likely to change? Do you think you're going to have you know, some kind of a breakthrough with politicians talking to each other, coming to some kind of a working relationship, and things stabilizing on that front so that it can then translate into economy?
Mahrukh, it depends. If all politicians act as statesmen, then I think a table talk or an all parties conference can be held. are realizing consensus on basic issues, including economy. But
Okay.
if one person doesn't cooperate and he insists on certain things which are beyond our control, which are not in the interest of country's interests, then I think we cannot accept his dictation. Secondly, all facts, irrefutable facts, narrated by Khafan Najib Sahib, these facts contribute to Pakistan's state of affairs. But the basic thing is what is in our hands? What is in our hands? We have to improve those factors, those facts, so that domestically we take decisions which contribute to improving our economy, attracting international assistance, and also attracting, despite difficult times, uh, foreign remittances. We have to find out ways and means to attract investment, to encourage domestic investment. So there are so many things to take care of, but basic thing which have resulted to the present situation is the non-observance of constitution and rule of law. Because, and I think the outgoing chief of army staff has categorically said that establishment has been interfering in country's political affairs for the last 70 years. And
This is
when
what
he
Agha Haroon Sahib was saying. I'll come back to you, Ji. And he was talking about the fact that, of course, perhaps in that kind of way, it is, and really once it's never been done before. The way that those facts have come to light, and perhaps therefore we might be moving in the right direction after this. Because it is regrettable that it happened, and that has been said by a lot of people. How do you think that may be setting the right tone for the future? But another challenge that has surfaced also is terrorism. Do you think it's resurfaced?
If you give me 3 minutes, I would like to link 3 important factors.
Please continue.
Terrorism, that is of course linked with our areas bordering Afghanistan. Economy, which is against, it has the impact of Afghan economy towards Pakistan, because this is not me who will say. The Pakistan Exchange Organization, which basically sells dollars, they have said that $2 billion are per monthly they are being transferred or smuggled to Afghanistan. So Afghan issue is hurting Pakistan economically also, and of course security wise. Terrorism started gaining momentum last year in almost, you can say, in October, November, when the former government of PTI started negotiation with the TTP on the instructions or advice of the Afghan Taliban. Everybody was shocked who has a sense why we were going for a dialogue with TTP, who had already been died through the Zabul Azab and Razul Fasad. But this dialogue, or you can say negotiation, gained a new confidence to terrorists, that they thought, look, the state is in a dialogue with us, meaning by we are pushing
You're
state,
saying that
compromising.
it empowered them.
Exactly.
In a way. Yes.
We basically, this dialogue made state in a level of compromisation.
Okay.
The results we are watching now. I am very worried about that. If we will not change our, you can say, our mindset about the Afghan issue, and if we will continue to open the Afghan border all the time for this Afghan trade and other things, I think this is harming Pakistan, because wheat is also being smuggled there. Dollar is being smuggled, wheat is being smuggled, beef and meat is being smuggled. So
But
we
the-
are basically taking the cost of the Afghan economy. So we should take a step, take a position. Should we keep, feeding Afghanistan?
But other than taking a humanitarian angle to it, we haven't seen this government.
How can we take our country at stake just because of the humanitarian angle? This is my issue. I mean, we already brought, for example, 3 million refugees. Now they are more than you can say 25 million. So if we took it in humanitarian, this is my question: why Pakistan is taking Pakistan as a granted for supporting the Afghan issue? And
You're saying that that spate of terrorism that we've seen is actually coming from that
of course,
side.
this is not me. I mean, your every security institution is saying that everybody who is, against attacking Pakistan, they are coming from Afghanistan, and they have saved heavens over there. And when we arrested some, we tried to arrest some terrorists who were in a Bannu center. They asked us to give us a safe passage and safe haven to Afghanistan. Afghanistan has become the source of all ills Pakistan is facing today. And if we won't change our policy towards Afghanistan,
Fair enough.
we will be in a damn bad situation very soon.
But other than that, let me go to Siddiqul Farooq Sahab. I'll come back to you. Siddiqul Farooq Sahab, do you agree with this as far as the foreign policy is concerned? You know, of course, there is a humanitarian angle to the kind of assistance that we have tendered to the Afghans. But overall, as far as the change towards that policy is concerned, you think it will be sufficient to resolve the kind of, the recent challenges we've seen as far as terrorism, security is concerned?
Terrorism is not the only factor, and providing assistance to Afghan brothers, the cost of our life will not help us solve our problems. We can, the diplomatic level, exert more efforts to seek or to get support for Afghanistan. But if we don't have sufficient blood in our body, and our friend needs 1 or 2 or 3 pints of blood, and if we have not sufficient, we can't donate that.
Right, you can't.
There is a couplet, one line, कि किसी को जान देता है तो पहले जान पैदा कर. If we want to donate blood, we should have sufficient blood in our body, of course. And as far as the terrorism concerned, Indian factor should not be forgotten, because Indian factor through Afghanistan or through TTP must not be ignored. Whether it is Pakistan, it is NWFP, and an incident in Islamabad too, I think must pay our attention. And rightly, yesterday's meeting of Security Council has took certain decisions that now we will not ignore terrorism, and rather they have taken a decision to cope with this problem with all might at our command. And this is right policy to fight terrorism, to improve economy, and at domestic level to go for political stability.
Political stability, yes, but we talk about political stability. You are talking about political stability. We've seen overall, as far as the PDM is concerned, the PMLN is concerned, the move towards it, but there doesn't seem to be an answer. Are you any closer to trying to achieve that goal?
We have tried our level best. But at the very pertinent sentence, that when a person accepts his crime and he is given respite to play his undue role in politics and to destroy countries' political stability, in my opinion, once he has accepted his crime, he must be taken to task according to law. No respite. कोई मोहलत नहीं मिलनी चाहिए उसे. So that things go in the right direction and the country's atmosphere, domestic atmosphere improves.
Okay. Let me go to Dr. Khakan. Dr. Khakan, again, of course, we are talking about political stability and how it's linked. Do you think continuation of policy is also, important as far as our economy generally is concerned? And as far as election is concerned, again, you mentioned what you see as indicators of what things are going to be, where things are headed as far as the next year is concerned. But do you think it's going to be influenced by, of course, the fact that we're looking at this term ending in the end of August?
So, Maharukh, again, I have said that political, ongoing stuff is part of the whole democratic process. But what is different in Pakistan today is the uncertainty level, which has gotten really heightened by the fact that our election is going to be on time. Is the government going to complete its tenure, or are we going into an election sooner than the August time period? So I've always said that people talk about these charters. For me, the most important charter as we begin 2023, and I've said it for the last couple of months now, is for the leaderships to sit down and have a charter of certainty on a timeline as to how we want to move. The uncertainty in the equation not only hinders progress towards IMF, it hinders progress towards domestic investor, it hinders progress towards foreign investor, and itself creates all the jitteriness that we see in the markets.
But Dr. Khakan, you talk about uncertainty. Let me interject for a second. But when you talk about uncertainty, of course, you're talking about sitting together. You're saying let's talk about having a charter of certainty. Whether you go towards a charter of certainty, you go towards a charter of economy, you go towards any kind of charter, you will need to have conversations. You will need to have people sitting together, parties across the board, and coming to some kind of a way forward. And the last most of last year, one has to see, has been more of agitational style of politics and the fueling of this kind of uncertainty, which at times suits one party or the other. And that's what we've seen in the last year. And if that continues, of course, we will see the market responding to that. We will see it having its own indicators, the economy overall showing whatever is happening around them. Let me come back to you. Ji, Agha Sahab, that is the scenario at this time, unfortunately. Even if we look at Punjab, for example, or if the centre, or if we talk about disillusion, which was something that was thrown out into the water about like 2 weeks ago, and then that there is this walking away from that, then there's another march, so there is something that is fueling that kind of uncertainty, right?
You are absolutely right. Actually, questioning me, you have answered perfectly what you had your mind. You are asking a political party for a negotiation or for a dialogue and to sit together for the betterment of Pakistan. A party which wrote a letter to United Nations that Pakistan is involved in human rights abuse and it should be penalized. A party which wrote a letter to IMF not to grant next tranche of money to Pakistan. How can you imagine something positive from such mindset that is not leaving any chance to harm this country?
But at the core of it isn't it that nothing seems to be above politicking, whether it's politics, whether it's the country's foreign policy, whether it's we've seen there's no bar here to which we've seen the opposition not go recently, whether it's like you said, economy, whether it's the default question, or whether it's about foreign policy,
cipher crisis, and other issues.
So if nothing is sacred, then where are we headed?
So, this is a very good question. Look, Farooq, Farooq Sahab sitting over there, he is one of very old friend, rather he is one of a person we learned a lot. So he also can comment on this particular issue that I have never seen any political party, I'm using the word any political party with full responsibility, that had gone too far to damage the country for just political gains. This is the only PTI I have seen. And I don't find any
because
way.
again, I will say that there
I'm
has
coming to
been
the point.
traditionally some, some sacred, things that they don't want to touch or they don't want to go.
Exactly.
There is a sensitivity which seems not to have mattered recently.
Yes, there was, but there is not now. Because Imran Khan was designed that you are bigger than nation, you are greater than country, you are not human, you are like a Greek god. So he is not ready to become a human. So he is not thinking as a human. He is thinking, I am defeated, I have been defeated, I am not finding any political way out, so let it be the country to be at stake. Can you go, or me go, or anybody, or Farooq Sahab or any other body can go to him and tell him, okay, please forgive this country? This is not possible. We have to live with it. Now coming to the point, we have to live with this PTI dharna sazish and dharna politics. We have to live. We have to find some way out with this instability or unstable circumstances which we have to
Is
do.
there a way out, in your opinion, if we can't achieve the kind of stability that is needed? At least some kind of workable.
This is also a cliche. Sorry, this is also a cliche that there is no stability, and that is why investment is not coming Pakistan. Right now, we don't need investment. Investment needs some projects. Projects take 4 to 5 or 3 years to be established. We need immediate hard cash. That is our problem.
Okay.
And that hard cash has nothing to do with the stability, because China has a brunt of PTI. We had a very bad relationship with China over CPAC issue when the PTI was in government. Saudi Arab has seen the brunt.
You're saying it's linked to foreign policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we have a good foreign policy. We have a very positive foreign policy, and I am hopeful we will get.
Let's Dr. Khakan answer this. Dr. Khakan, do you agree with what Agha Iqrar Harun Sahab is saying? He's saying that it's not really, it's perhaps, undue importance is given to the kind of certainty we want and we keep talking about, when actually it has more to do with we need money and that kind of hard cash. What do you expect in that quarter now?
So let me complete my first thought. And so when I say charter of certainty, I think there are other players in the country who all have to come together and realize the difficulty that the economy is facing. And in that, I put judiciary and the military and the civil establishment as well. All these guys and girls have to put their head together and think where we stand. We don't have the leverage of making a mistake today, because the monies that are needed that everyone talks about. So Pakistan, MAHRUKH, is in a dollar liquidity crunch. You are running out of dollars. That's your basic issue. I say this word so that everyone in Pakistan understands. Pakistan, with the kind of reserves you have, Pakistan with the kind of flows on the dollars that you have, you are running out of dollars. So you have to supplement the dollar liquidity crunch by having dollars from somewhere. What's your best source right now is the IMF. To go to the IMF, you need to do reforms, not reforms of selling PIA, which should be done, but the pricing adjustments, the monetary tightening, the fiscal reforms where you need to tax. Now,
you're saying the unpopular decisions.
Yes, and the incumbent government, MAHRUKH, is finding it hard because they are on the last leg, 6 months remaining. Usually IMF programs are done in the first 3 years of a government. And that is why I say create a charter of certainty so that everyone knows when there is going to be a change. And the incumbent government should be empowered by all the people that I mentioned to you, as well as by selling through programs like yours to the citizenry, that if we don't take these decisions, which may sound unpopular right now, what will hit us in the country or the economy will be so harsh that you don't want to even talk about things which are happening in Sri Lanka, where women have to stand in line to get milk and men have to stand in line to get petrol. So let's all be clear that this is not the time to create uncertainty. I can't say this is not the time to create politics, because politics is an ongoing thing. But there are times in the history of nations when you take the bull by the horn and say, I would even go and say that in the 20 or 25 years of what I've seen, the economics of Pakistan very closely after when mashallah Pakistan became a nuclear state, this is the most difficult time that we are facing. And truly, what the other participants have said is also right. Our foreign relationships are not at the level where you have seen. Let's be honest. Let's know what we have in the bag. That the friends of Pakistan have even asked you that get the IMF done and then we will come to support. So this is the kind which is not going to change immediately. On the 9th of January, there is a ray of hope. Pakistan is going to be in Geneva asking for flood monies. Flood is another thing that has hit us. So let's all put a face together, go there, get some money, talk to IMF on the sidelines, get IMF on board. If we don't, the kind of payments that are coming up, I fear that the market jitteriness would not go away. So on this, I think there should be a charter of certainty that the election schedule, the kind of technocratic government that is being talked of should be put aside, and the interim government to take over, so that everyone kind of knows and agrees. I mean, you're 7-8 months left, so. I have, MAHRUKH, had the opportunity of working
with... We talk about
all the
technocratic government again, like you are saying, Dr. Khaqan, there are so many theories in the field. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, if this was always the case, I don't know. But at this juncture in time, it certainly seems to be, it's free for all at this time. You can throw any theory in the market at this time, and there will be those who will buy it, and there will be those who will not buy it, and then there will be speculation, and then there will be, it's like a Chinese whisper at this point, and unfortunately not a Chinese whisper that's not having its ramifications. So I don't know how, let me go to Sadiqul Farooq Sahab. Maybe he will correct me if I'm wrong. He's more experienced, and he can probably tell us what he expects to see in the recent future.
MAHRUKH, early elections are not the solution to any problem. When $24 billion per annum are being smuggled to Afghanistan, which is a fact, and devastating floods have ruined our economy. And when politically one party is trying to create unsurmountable problems, then we have to devise a very comprehensive and objective policy, and that policy is that such a party should not be allowed to play with the country's interest. I may remind all of you that in 2014, when the Army Public School Peshawar incident or tragedy happened, then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif convened an APC, and he had Imran Khan on his right hand, just close to his heart, to stage 126 days dharna. But his approach was the approach of a statesman. Such an approach is required now. As I have already said, that if such an approach is not adopted by one person, all others should assemble together and devise a policy of consensus. And if one person has confessed his crime, he should be dealt according to country law.
Right, okay. You said this earlier. Let me...
Just 1 minute. When Khan Najib refers to the role of judiciary. Here, judiciary must play its role strictly according to constitution and law rather than writing constitution. So when this role is played and all political forces join hands together and our establishment has gone apolitical, a solution can be devised to rid the country out of present problems.
Do you agree,
As
Sahib?
far
Do you think, Ji, Siddiqul Farooq Sahib, I get, I understand
as
what you're saying. On that note,
okay.
Sahib, do you agree? You think, I mean, if it's going to be a prerequisite, then, or we go by the presumption that there is a sabotage mode, as far as one political party is concerned, if that is where we're going to start off from. And then, what other solutions are there? And like, Siddiqul Farooq Sahib is saying, everybody else and all the other stakeholders get together to move towards a solution. Do you think that, do you see that happening? What is your overall estimation of it?
First of all, Dr. Sahib was talking about stability and charter of certainty. I mean, charter of certainty is there. Elections would be held and should be at time, which is October 2023. Why people are expecting election before that time? Only PTI is expecting. No other party in Pakistan has ever talked about elections before October 2023.
No, they have not. But then again, we're talking about a party which has some support, right?
It has a support, but we cannot put country at stake
Of
just
course.
because
I
PTI has a support. PTI is a popular party. We have seen the results of calling PTI a popular party very drastically. Popular party, if it is a popular party, it should think about Pakistan. And let me come to this particular issue. Siddiqul Farooq Sahib was also saying, yes, we all must work within the parameter of the constitution. Everybody.
The
even
constitution,
you and me.
you yourself said that the constitution says clearly that there's a 5-year term. The constitution says that it is going to end in August of 2023.
Yes.
And yet you are sitting here and, even Dr. Khakan mentioned this and talking about theories like, an extended setup or technocratic setup. Every now and then there is some theory that, but there is no legal basis in this country, by the way, for that kind of an extended technocratic setup, if we talk legally speaking.
Farooq Sahib, but this is not the first time I am listening this technocrat, the possibility of the technocrat government. Let me add, whenever there was a conspiracy against sitting government in past, if you talk about 90s, then 99 and 2000, always there was a pulse, there was a which called
it surfaces again,
exactly.
And whenever there is some.
So I don't believe even anybody in power is thinking about this particular issue, and election would be held in 2023, and everybody should understand this and should work about that. That is it. Otherwise, we cannot come out of this disaster we are facing. And again, I am telling you, we need hard cash. Hard cash, we can manage. We have to stop our smuggling to Afghanistan, which is the $2 billion US per month, first of all. And secondly, we should clamp serious taxation on a particular the cream starter, which has never ever been properly taxed.
Right, let me go to Dr. Khakan. Dr. Khakan, you mentioned 9th of January as an important date, and with respect to that, we should all rally behind the effort to talk about the flood damage that we've seen, the kind of, as far as the climate change is concerned, our own situation at this time. What do you think, what is your expectation, as far as, of course, the COP meeting also happened earlier on, and we saw some results from there also. As far as the government is concerned, they've made every effort to make this, the UNGA address of the Prime Minister, all of those things. Do you expect it to translate?
So one's not overly happy with the kind of support that we've gotten. The UN appeal was for about $850 million, but what came through to Pakistan was, nearly $200 million. So that doesn't give us much hope. But again, Geneva is going to be all the multilaterals, bilateral partners, and other agencies led by the UN. So let's hope this time what we have, what gives me more hope, that Pakistan's going there with a $30 billion plan. And the plan is not being made by Pakistan. Again, the multilateral agencies, EU and all have contributed towards constructing that $30 billion, where our need for infrastructure building is about 16 billion MAHRUKH. So now $16 billion over the next, let's say, couple of years, you will not need all that money this time. So what I was in a meeting regarding this with the UN the other day, and they asked me the same question: what should we be doing? Trying to push best for Pakistan. This is exactly what I said. I said what we need in 2023. Let's say 50% of that support must be assured by the world to us at least. And let's say you get some kind of figure, and so let's get at least 50% of support and a commitment that in the next 12 months, this is what we are going to give. This will also give us some cash, which we can go back to the IMF and say, look, we have secured this kind of. The IMF is also looking at that. Then the other 50%, I think 25% the government would have to put up, and the rest of the 25% is what I always say, private-public partnership infrastructure through all the great NGOs that we have, and that kind of work. So that is at least something that again, I hope our homework is good, and when we go there, we can get something like this. But on the sidelines, the most important meeting, and Pakistan's chances of coming through this unheard of where we stand today, MAHRUKH, make no mistake, Pakistan's severe crunch of the dollars is going to hurt if we don't sign with the ninth review with the IMF. The extent of need is even highlighted by the minutes of the National Security Council, where they have even said that going to the IMF is the way forward. The country should rally behind the incumbent government.
Dr. Farhan, do you think it's right? Of course. I think that I interrupted you, but I agree with exactly what you're saying. I think you've hit the nail on the head when you say that the country should rally behind the government in its efforts to go with the IMF program. I don't think that there's any two opinions on that. And the sad part is that we saw the opposition talk about the same thing, and now they seem to be going in another direction. And that is very sad, but unfortunately that's the kind of politics, and again we come to the politics that we've seen. But overall, as far as the situation stands today, do you think it's going to also influence the fact that they will be looking at this as an election year for us, and that is going to influence any decision they come to?
That obviously does, because see, IMF program also comes to an end by June. I think Pakistan would be needing another program as we end June, because the kind of needs that we have. So, the election cycle, when it's going to happen, when there's going to be a caretaker set up, that all will play into effect. And that's why I think when I say rope in everyone, there are times when the House has serious issues, then everyone in the House contributes. Constitutionally, people have a role, but you always know that there is moral support. There is, when I know that everyone stands behind me when I take an unpopular decision, my ability to take that decision would be much enhanced. And today is that time. Sacrifice.
Certainly, I agree with you, and I think most of us agree with you. But what Sadiqul Farooq Sahab is saying, he's saying that you should, rather than trying to factor in everyone, agree that you will have to discount in this case as far as the opposition is concerned, and move forward without them. So now I think the question is, can we do that, and how do we do that?
So MAHRUKH, let me say something. MAHRUKH, I've had the great advantage of working with all the major political parties in Pakistan, sitting within the government. All these people are good, sane people. All these people may have different ideologies how to run governance, but it is not that, there are saner voices within the parties as well. There are people who all understand. The leaderships also understand. IMF program has been run by PPP in 2008. very successfully by the PMLN in 13 to 16. They completed the only program, and I anchored this program for PMLN in 13 to 16. I sat on the table when we had to do the program with PTI. So they've had an experience with all this. Right now, going through,
So
no
things
one would
change
disappear.
when the last government is not in government. Is that the result? Then I mean, is that
Yeah.
the bottom line?
You know, overtures in politics are a part of politics, and we all live with them, right? But one thing is that the incumbent government has to take more responsibility, shoulder the hard tasks, and go ahead and do them.
Ji
I
Sadiqul
think this
Farooq
will.
Sahab. Unfortunately, I'm also running out of time, and let
Yeah.
Sadiqul Farooq Sahab answer. Ji.
The government should take do last effort to invite PTI to sit in APC for evolving a consensus to solve the problems confronting Pakistan on economic front and other fronts too. But if it doesn't pay heed to the invitation, then as I've already said, that then the government should go with other parties. And as far as IMF program is concerned, I have talked to so many economists. Their suggestion, and they are united on the solution that you have to go for implementing IMF's program. Otherwise,
Right,
there
which
are
is
a lot
right.
of problems. So we will have to implement this program, which has been signed by PTI, and now we have to fulfill its conditionalities to rid the country out of this problem.
Right, fair enough. Ji, Agha Sahab, I have to close.
I understand. Sadiqul Farooq Sahab has given a very fruitful and very positive suggestion. Yes, government should announce APC, all party conference, invite everybody, and we will see what PTI would do with that. And I trust me, PTI would not sit in that.
Okay. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us. Dr. Khaqan Najeeb, thank you for joining us. Agha Iqrar Haroon, thank you for being with us. Sadiqul Farooq Sahab, thank you for joining us. Overall, of course, we've seen the challenges. We talked about the kind of challenges we've seen and in the last year, the kind of political turmoil, the efforts to stabilize things as far as the government is concerned, and the likely direction that we want to see the country move in the next year. Let's hope that we can move towards prosperity. Let's hope that we can move towards a degree of certainty which will then translate into economic stability. Thank you so much for joining us.